Hey, what's up, Knife Tube? Today, had a gentleman ask me about the Petrified Fish Beluga. So I'm going to do him a video. We'll do y'all a video. Uh, this would be mainly for my Australian friend and give you my opinions on what is a fantastic budget knife. I've said this for a long time, pretty much since they come out. I got this one literally as soon as they come out. I believe I have 3 of them. I have 2 of these, 2 Tantos, and 2 minis. So yeah. Anyhow, I've said it for a long time that at $50, that I think these are around 48, so 48, and the minis are 53. In that range. In my opinion, I really don't think that you can get a better knife. How do I say this? At the $40 the Kubi Nova is, I would say that's top tier. It is price range, but and I probably would overall say that the Kubi Nova is a better EDC knife as a whole, but not when you factor in just feel in hand and build quality. The Nova is a fantastic knife for the price. Probably impossible to beat. It's got everything. It's got great geometry. It's got a great blade shape. It's comfortable in hand. Plenty of cutting edge. You can pick them up for $27 on White Mountain Eyes when they're on sale, but it doesn't feel anywhere nearly as well made as the Beluga does. So yeah, anyways, one of them too, but they would be fighting for the top spot in the 50 and under budget knife race for me. I've considered this probably for most people the best $50 knife they can buy. You know, and the Nova is going to suit people very well too, but I believe for most people this is probably the better knife out of the two. But what really makes this knife stand apart is when you put this knife in hand, this knife does not feel like a $50 knife. It's solid, it's stout, it's built well, it feels good in hand. It feels a lot more, it feels like this is a lot more than a $50 knife. The action is great. They're butter smooth. They've got a 2-way pivot. If you want, you can throw phosphor bronze in. They'll come with thick washers to replace the bearings. Now, if you polish those washers up, they are ridiculously smooth. This knife here is on washers, and there's no blade play, and it's butter smooth. Now, this one is still on bearings, and it's, you know, it's just crazy smooth. But whoops, trying to do that looking through a camera. Anyways, but it's, if you don't polish the washers, it's still a nice smooth action, but it's not nearly as nice. If you polish them, it's really good. Now, with these knives, there's no detent lash. Absolutely no detent lash, which is really nice and kind of a rare thing on $50 knives. There's no pivot lash. I mean, what's that? I'm sorry. There's no pivot lash. There's no detent lash. Like, absolutely none. The lock ramp geometry, fantastic. You got good solid lockup. You got a nice thick liner. You have absolutely no blade play whatsoever. These are great knives. And with the bearings, same thing. Absolutely no play. You have perfect lockup. You have... this one has a teeny bit of pivot lash. Not much, but a teeny bit. Can you hear it? Let's see. There's a teeny bit of pivot lash, but not much. Open, absolute bolt. Yeah, this is a stout knife. Now, what makes me love these knives so much, and literally since the day they come out, or the day I got mine in hand, have highly recommended this knife to many, many people. And it is geometry. You've got a nice tall flat. Comes down nice and thin behind the edge. This knife here, I do believe, is on its third edge. Third edge? Yeah, I believe so. And it's probably at around, I'm going to say 13 thousandths. Maybe a little thicker at the tip. Yeah, probably about 13. And I would, and on the third edge, from the from the factory edge, I'd say it come at probably about 11 thousandths. It's probably about 11th back here, 11, about 12 up here. So, and a couple sharpening, it's only thickened up like a couple thousandths, and that is because of that nice tall flat grind. So it's not going to thicken up fast on you. This thing's going to maintain really good geometry for a long time. Now, you've got nice thin tip, but there's still some meat there. It doesn't get too dainty that you're going to have structural issues. This is a fantastic skinning blade and just general use EDC blade shape, and it is a absolute laser beam of a slicer. The Tanto, now this one is on one edge. The Tantos are a little thicker behind the edge from the factory. They're not ground down as, or at least mine aren't. I have two of them. Both of them are the same. They're a little thicker than the drop points. Now, these here, this is on its first sharpening. This is probably at about 14 thousandths. Slightly thicker. About 2 or 3 thousandths thicker. One sec, that's my wife. Sorry about that. That wasn't my wife. I thought it was, but those are crypto alarms going off. Anyhow, I lost my train of thought. The Tantos are a little thicker. They're a couple thousandths thicker, so it's a little thicker now than this one, yet this is on one sharpening, this is on its third sharpening. So, but even the Tantos are nice and thin. They're going to slice really good. You've got a really tall flat, so you're not going to be moving much material. You're not going to be getting real thick real quick and binding. I really like this dead straight, American style Tanto front, because it makes a hell of a good scraping tool. This is a really good scraper. And, you've got your second point for utility cutting, and you have nice thin geometry for push cutting. I'm not too much of a Tanto guy myself, but This Tanto is very, very useful, just due to that wide front flat section that makes a hell of a scraping tool. Now, there's a lot more meat at the tip on the Tanto than there is on the drop point, so you do got, you know, a fairly stout tip. I've never had any problems with corrosion, even though, you know, bead blasting and D2 is asking for corrosion. Never had no issues whatsoever. Now this stonewash, that is a really nice looking finish. Looks far more premium than should be on a $50 knife. This micarta feels and looks nicer than what should be on a $50 knife. And the pocket clip is a good pocket clip. Knives are centered. You have that nice fuller for reverse flicking, slow rolling, thumb flicking. Front flipper works great. This is not real bitey jimping. It gives, you know, a little bit, but it doesn't grab you like, say, Spyderco jimping does. There is it does grab a little bit, but not much. It's realistically more for, you know, aesthetics in the front flipper, but it grabs enough to, you know, to front flip, but it don't really grab all that great. The jimping could be a little sharper, in my opinion. I really like the Spyderco style jimping instead of this more softened type jimping. Anyhow, I'm rambling. Overall, these are fantastic knives. They are stout now. Get you a weight on them. They are stout, guys. So you know, you can expect a chunk in the pocket. That's for sure. Okay, 153 grams. 5.4 ounces for the Tanto. 5 ounces for the drop point. Anyhow, these are really great. You'll love it if you get one. They are a fantastic work knife. For a $50 China budget knife, in my opinion, that is the quintessential work knife from China for $50. It's ready to do it. Now, the K110. It's great. Their 14C. It's ran a little soft. It's not bad. I'm not that big of a fan of 14C as a whole. But the 14C, like on the Mini, it's you know, it's adequate. But the edge retention really suffers. 14C just doesn't have very good edge retention in the first place. I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, but that's just the way it is. And when it's ran down at, you know, 58, 59 Rockwell, it doesn't kill it like even, you know, 57 Rockwell. 14C will still have decent edge retention for itself at even like 57 Rockwell. Whereas a lot of steels would really just crash if they were ran that low. Like if you did an edge retention test on a piece of 14C, same geometry, and it was 57 Rockwell, and then you took a piece of 61 Rockwell, the edge retention difference isn't going to be huge. It'll definitely be there, but it won't be huge. Actually, that's more I'd say from about 57 to 60. Once you start getting over 60, the edge retention increases quite quickly for that steel. But so yeah, like 61, 62, you're going to notice a big jump over, say, 59, 60. I'm rambling, I'm sorry. Early in the morning, my mind's cloudy. Anyhow, so these, thankfully, they did these in K110. I wish they would have done the mini in K110. I really don't think it was a smart move for them to do 14C in the mini. They should have stuck with K110. They are doing it good. I've said this for a long time. You can go back on Reddit and find posts from me from many years ago. Well, about 4 years ago. Prior to that, and not so much, but around 4 years ago or so, Kubi really got their stuff together when it come to their D2. And they, in my opinion, and from about 4 years ago to today, and especially today, their D2 is among, if not the best coming out of China in budget knives. It's close. I would put it between Kubi and Petrified Fish is who's doing the best D2 K110 coming out of China for $40, $50. Like, they're just blowing like QSP out of the water. Sincut, Civivi, their D2's okay. Again, this is done way better. And you'll hear many people say K110 is just D2. And yes, it is, and no, it's not. And where it's not is in, it depends who you're buying your D2 from. If they're getting their D2 from a reliable, consistent source, then yes, they're extraordinarily similar steels. However, you can PMI 10 pieces of China D2, and they will be very 10 pick 10 manufacturers from China and get 10 knives from each one of those manufacturers of different models in D2, and then PMI them, and they're gonna, the range of elements in that D2 will be drastic, to the point that some pieces won't even really be D2. That it's just so loosely made that if they're getting good D2, then that's different, but most aren't. So in that case, this is precision manufactured K110 D2. It is very consistent elementally. The composition is within a tight range. You're getting a consistent product, and that's where it lets these companies dial in a heat treat. Think about it. Let's say QSP, we'll just, whoever, QSP. They order D2, they get, they order their X number of pieces, and then 3 months later they order more steel, and so on and so forth. And, now they're probably not doing in-house heat treating, but let's just say they are. So they build up a protocol for that D2, and it works on this first order of steel that they got. It's doing good. And a month, 2 months, 3 months later, that steel's gone. They order more of that same D2. And the D2 that they get now is very different than the D2 that they built this protocol or tweaked this protocol for. It was working great on that first order, but not so much on that second order. So it's elementally different. It responds to heat differently. And now they've got to adjust that heat treat again. The steel's coming out at not the pre-quench that they, hardness that they expect it to, and things is just not right. And it's not because anything they did, it's specifically because the D2 is so loosely controlled that in some cases it's almost like they're heat treating different steels. I mean, hell, it's not like they actually basically are. So when you have a nice consistent product, this K110, it's going to be consistent from batch to batch to batch to batch. It's going to be consistent from one end of the sheet to the other end of the sheet because of precision manufacturing. That's why it's from a high-end precision steel manufacturer. Bohler knows what they're doing. K110 is superior to D2 by a long shot, especially when it comes to China D2, because God only knows what you're getting. So compositionally, yes, they're basically the same. On paper, they're basically the same. But in use, they're not. This company has figured out and dialed in this K110 heat treatment and doing a really, really good job. I have a bunch of K110 from them. Every piece I've had has been very good. Not just good, but very good. As good of production D2 as you're ever going to get. There you go. I would, Benchmade. A lot of people rag on them back just before they went to, CPM D2, but back when they was putting out this normal D2. Benchmade did a really good job on their D2. They was using American source D2 that was quality manufacturer, and they had it dialed in. They were doing a good job. And anybody who's ever had any Benchmade D2 will tell you, yes, they did a good job. It performs great. This right here absolutely performs as good as any Benchmade D2 I have. It is done well. Kubi or Petrified Fish, best D2 K110 coming out of China. That's it. It sharpens really nicely. Believe it or not, it takes a pretty decent polish. And I'm someone that is typically highly against D2 with a polish. D2 needs to be ran fairly low to be aggressive and, have an aggressive tooth structure. And with this K110 from them, if you take it up to, even a mirror, you're not going to kill the performance of it. Now, I still don't suggest doing that, but even with the polish, it still performs decently. And like I said, typically with D2, a polish it just kills the steel. This stuff, you can polish it if you want, really, really good fine push cutting performance. You can polish it; it'll be okay for you. I really suggest to keep it around 600. That way you get a lot of bite, but you also get nice, push cutting performance. It comes up super sticky at 600. Still got lots and lots of bite. This right here, these edges are, this is finished on I can't think. A Toma 600. And this coarse aggressive boy, a Toma 400. Anyways, 600, 400, either or performs great. If you're going to be doing a lot of push cutting and stuff and you want to take it to a polish, you know, 1,000, it'll do good. But if you want to take, it'll do really good at 1,000. But if you want to take it to a polish and go up 3 or 5K, even to a mirror, you don't just totally kill the performance of steel like you do typically with D2. I wouldn't recommend you do that. My recommendation would be, if you want, you know, just push cutting performance, 1,000 grit. I would still never suggest that with normal D2, but with this K110, it does okay at 1,000 grit. You're gonna have really good push cutting performance, and it's still gonna maintain some bite, and it'll perform decent. But ideally, 400, 600, or 320 to 600. That's where the steel is going to perform the best for you at. If you want it keenness, 600. If you want bite, 320, 400. And, you know, you're going to be good to go. Now, I will say at 600, you're going to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. At 600, you're going to have substantial bite. You're going to have really, with them big carbides, you're going to have really, really good bite. Even though this, you know, literally hair whittling keen. But yet still tons of bite. At 400, yeah, you're not going to whittle hair. But it's still nice and sticky. But yeah, it has crazy bite. Like, you don't want to rock them fingers very much, or it's going to cut you. Like, you got I don't want to cut no more patches into my arm, but let's see if we can get the focus. You got, you know, really nice keenness, but a tremendous amount of bite. Yeah, so it just depends on what you want out of the edge. If you want bite, I would say 320, 400. If you want keen, 600. For performance, 1,000 max, but if you do take it to a polish, it'll still perform good for you. With this geometry, another thing too, I've used not these two. I have a G10 Tanto that's had the hell worked out of it, and I have a what is it called? Damascus or something like that. I have one of these in Damascus. Just had the hell worked out of it, and I've never had no chipping or fracturing issues with this steel. It's held up really nicely, even at 15 degrees aside, and beating on it pretty good. So you have really good edge stability out of this. That's a testament to the composition being consistent, and the heat treat quality is good. Yeah, set it between 15 and 17, 30 to 34 inclusive. You're going to have a great performing knife. Set your edge, like I said, if you want. For most people, I'd say just finish it at 600, and you're going to be super happy. And running this at like 15, you know, or 30 inclusive, 600 grit edge, you're going to have surprising edge retention out of this steel. It strops back nicely. Now I will say, you're gonna if you're using your diamond strops. It's not a steel that's going to maintain that a ton of bite, especially if you take it up above 600 after a whole bunch of strop backs. It's going to start to polish them micro serrations off, and it's going to start getting slick, which is another reason why I say keep it on the coarser side. Like at 600, you're going to get a lot of strop backs. At 1,000, you might get half as many strop backs before the bite starts to dwindle. And the coarser you go, the more you're going to get back before the bite starts to fall off. But this is not a steel that gets slick with use. You can go out there and use the hell out of it. Once that up front sharpness starts to fall off, you get that, toothy bite for working, high bite working edge, and it holds that very, very well, and it holds this up front sharpness pretty decent too. This is good stuff. If these were US made and these are $200 knives exactly as they said, I wouldn't complain at the performance of these knives. They really do perform that good. They do not perform like a $50 knife. They perform drastically better than pretty much any other $50 knives out there. Geometry, good heat treat, good steel equals performance, and that's exactly what you get from this stuff. The Tanto, the other Tanto, that knife has been used to scrape so much you can, it's ridiculous. That was the main reason I carried that knife, was specifically for its scraping ability. And, scraping stuff that shouldn't be scraped, you shouldn't use your knife for. You should get a scraper, with a throwaway blade. And, have very minor edge damage, something that a couple passes on a coarse ceramic rod, and, it's back perfect. It's just good steel that's done well. If you get the bead blasted model, bead blasting and any steel are not a good thing for corrosion resistance, but I've never had a problem with D2 or K110 rusting. However, on the bead blasted stuff, you do have to take a little precaution, because it will rust, especially from like sweat. It's not too susceptible to salt corrosion. Now it will corrode from it, but that's not what gets it. It's much more quickly affected by acidic corrosion than it is salt corrosion. So if you're using, it's your work knife, you're using it, you're sweating, your sweat's acidic, there's salt in it, and that bead blast, it will cause corrosions to pop up quick, if you don't do something to prevent it. A little bit of beeswax once a week, you're good to go. Now on these with the Stonewash, I have not had any problem whatsoever with any specks of corrosion popping up, even if I don't wipe them down with beeswax. Using it out, sweating my ass off outside at home on the homestead, and using this knife for a week solid, and you have absolutely no specks on it. But this one would definitely have specks of corrosion if I didn't do anything about it, because of the bead blasting. So keep that in mind. I wish I could get the drop point with this blade finish. I personally hate bead blast. Bead blast finishes can look nice. They can look nice, but I just don't like them. Even highly corrosion resistant steels can have issues with corrosion from bead blasting. I just don't like it. But I've rambled enough. I got 35 minutes. In my opinion, the Beluga is worth 35 minutes. It is a great knife. It is a great value. If I was you, I would get the drop point. If I was going to get them both, then whatever. But if I was only going to get one, it would definitely be the drop point. And also, if I was you, I wouldn't just get one. I would get this one and the Mini. They complement each other beautifully. I wish the Mini was K110 as well. It's 14C, but you know, we've already been over that. It is what it is. For around 90 bucks, or no, about 100 bucks, you can get both of them. You get the full size and the Mini, and you have a sweet set. But I guarantee it. If you get them, you'll love them. If you're gonna get one, just get this one. This is the knife. You know, it's a man's knife. It's ready to go out there and do work for you. And for $50, the performance is impressive. Yeah, faux show. So I've took up 36 minutes of y'all's time. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Y'all know I talk a lot. I hope y'all don't mind it. You know, I'm just trying to be detailed for you, trying to give y'all direct and truthful information from use. Yeah. So, y'all have a good day. Get you a Beluga. You will not regret it. They are great knives. Y'all have a good one.